Are you constantly dealing with self-sabotage or maybe some limiting beliefs? Well, in today's episode, Master Neuro Strategist Simone Leslie is going to take us through some exercises and strategies to help get rid of both. Stay tuned. Hi, Simone. How's it going?
Absolutely fabulous, Jen. Thanks for having me here today.
Oh, I'm so excited you're here. Simone and I are actually in a mastermind together, so it's really a treat to have her on today.
Very exciting.
So for those that don't know you, Simone, are you able to give like a little background on who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. So I am a Master Neuro Strategist. I've been in that industry for over 25 years, helping people around the world, all sorts of people from mums and dads to entrepreneurs, millionaires. I've worked with a billionaire. I do a lot of work also in developing nations with speaking and conferences and teaching. And basically what I do as a neurostrategist, because most people say, what's that? It's kind of like, it's about getting breakthrough in all different areas of your life. So most people think to get ahead, you need to put more information in this amazing brain of ours. Yeah. But that's actually only part true, because most of the time it's not what we don't know, it's actually what we do already know in here. It's what's already programmed in our neural programs, our beliefs and values and all that structure in there that most often causes us to self-sabotage, and we're not even aware of it at a subconscious level. So what I do, my specialty, is working with the core and the deepest level of programming that we have, which is around our identity, finding the lies and glitches there that are causing self-sabotage and taking them out and rewiring them so that you actually have exponential breakthrough, because you're just running off new programs like new railway tracks.
Yeah, so I understand what you're saying, because a lot of people will be like, oh, I'm going to start a habit, and they're thinking with their analytical brain, and they don't realize that they haven't changed the subconscious brain, which is where all the programming is.
Absolutely. And I mean, you can change conscious mind into subconscious. So there's, like, most people have heard of, the 21-day cycle. You actually have to do the 21-day cycle 3 times for it to really stick. And that's working from the conscious mind into your subconscious. But as a neurostrategist, what my forte is actually working from your subconscious out. It just takes a fraction of the time. It's like if you can get a revelation or a different perspective of something, you're already starting to rewire those neural programs. And that's what I do.
Okay. So for somebody who, say, for example, keeps self-sabotaging, so what would be like the first step of somebody who started to recognize the self-sabotage to actually try and get rid of that?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Where I go straight to is, as I said, the deepest level of programming we have is around our identity. And we have to ask that question, why are we doing those habits? And that's everything that's in here. The deepest level around identity is also around self-worth. So we actually have to take a gauge and check on initially the relationship we have with ourselves. So can we say, I love me 100%, warts and all, I love me in my mess? Because a lot of people have these what's called if-then statements. So if I'm perfect, then I'll be worthy of love. And this is classic self-sabotage in whatever it is, whether it's, as I say, the core self-relationship that we have, or whether it's a financial, when I'm making $500,000 a year or $100,000 a year, $1 million a year, whatever it is, then I'll be successful. And we have tons of these things. Or if I'm a certain weight, then I'm healthy, or then I'm worthy of love, whatever it is. So we need to have a look at these if-then statements, see what's going on in our brain. And it's really great to take a bit of a stock take of that, start to notice what we're believing around that. And that's when we can actually bust those myths, so to speak.
Okay. So for people to do that, would you suggest like journaling, or would you suggest like a brain dump of just going through like everything you believe on one subject that you feel like you're not getting anywhere on? Or what would you recommend for that?
there's tons of different ways that you can go about it. And the great thing about in neuro strategy work as a neurostrategist, it actually comes down to the individual. It's the way we are wired. So, for example, you may be a highly visual person, and the majority of the planet are. They're mostly taking things visually, they store information visually, etc. And a visual person is just all about that. They are able to visualize. That's how they're fast in the way they process, etc. Then you have people who are auditory, and they process just a little bit slower, but they take in information obviously through ears and hearing and auditorily. And then you have, underneath that, you have, I mean, there's a few, you also have auditory digital, which is facts and figures. And then underneath that, you have kinesthetic people who process, it's probably the slowest form of processing, but it has no reflection on intelligence. And especially with kinesthetic people, is the way they process is through gut feel and, you know, just getting a gist of something or whatever. But they are generally the people who will retain the most amount of information, because it's almost like cellular memory or body memory. So you find out which one of those you are, and then there's different patterns attaining to that. However, I can go through a pattern at the moment, so I can do a really practical, like, you know, 5-minute thing that will show you how to do it if you like. But I'm going to need you. I'm going to need you to be my, you know,
guinea pig.
my person. Yeah, my guinea pig. I love guinea pigs. So do you want to do it? Let's say on eating disorder.
Sure. If you want to, yeah.
So this is what's called just a parts integration. Often we will have different parts in our mind. Part of us wants to move forward. Part of us is holding us back. So we might want to step out into something new, whether it be relationship, finance, start a new habit. But some part of us is holding us back, whether it's fear, whether it's doubt, whatever it is. So you have this conflict going on in our mind. So this is a really great strategy to deal with that. So all you do is you get a piece of paper. Obviously, I've got a whiteboard. Put a line down the middle.
Yeah.
And we've got two parts. So the part that wants to move ahead in this eating disorder, what would you name that part? Would it be breakthrough? Would it be healthy? Would it be what? It can be anything. It could be even Jack if you want.
I always use my word metamorphis because you're changing. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Or if you want to shorten it, butterfly.
Okay, so we've got metamorphis on one side. The other side that's holding back, what would you name that side?
Lizzie. I already named her in my head. I call the person that talks to me bad in my head, I've called her Lizzie. Okay, right. The lizard brain.
Okay, I love it. Let's go over to metamorphis then. What does metamorphis give you? What feelings, what emotions, what does it give you? What is that part?
Freedom.
Yeah. What else? Keep them coming.
Like not stressed out. So I guess like relaxed and happy.
Yeah.
Fulfilled.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like non-negative words, you know what I mean? Because the brain isn't just negatives. So like just like content. You know what I mean? Like you're just participating in the moment instead of being like, oh my gosh, like what about this? What about this? What about this? Like, and your brain's going a million miles an hour, picking yourself apart. So like content, relaxed, just like fulfilled that would be like the biggest one, fulfilled, because you're not trying to push yourself into an expectation. Yeah.
Okay, so what about the word accepted? Does that resonate with you?
Accepted, yeah. Or like even like loved, because like like often if you have that type of thing, you pick yourself apart in the mirror after a shower, right? It's like, oh my God, like look at that, or look at that, right? So yeah. Excellent.
Anything more on that side, or does that feel complete?
That feels complete, yeah.
Awesome. Let's move over to Lizzie. And what does Lizzie give you?
Stress, headaches, doubt, fear, worthless, like that's a big one. Yeah. Rejection.
Yeah.
It feels like I'm confined in a box, right? Because
in a box.
yeah. Yeah, like I always feel like the analogy I use is it always feels like I'm hitting a wall, right? When those feelings start to come up, it goes whack and you can't get over it to the other side.
Yeah, so restricted.
Yeah.
Yeah, hit a wall.
And it's almost like embarrassed too, right? Because you're embarrassed to admit that to people, that you have those feelings about yourself, or you're embarrassed to admit that you feel like you have that problem. So like embarrassment's another one.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's it for that side that I can think of off the top of my head. Yeah.
Great job. So in this situation, when Lizzie's trying to take charge and you feel stressed, you've got headaches, doubt, fear, you feel really worthless, rejection, you feel like you're in a box, you're trapped, you're restricted, and you're embarrassed. Tell me what you physically do. Do you go and connect with people, or do you shut off? Do you eat a pack of Tim Tams? Do you have a cup of tea, glass of wine, binge on Netflix? What do you actually do?
I start to pull away from people. Like I start to make up every excuse in my head of why I can't do that thing because of this reason.
Yeah.
Right. Like, especially that happened for a year with auditions. Like every time I got an audition, like, oh, they're not going to hire me anyway, so I'm not going to put that much effort into it, or I'm not going to accept this audition because they're not going to hire me anyway. Like that type of stuff. So like not booking things in, or just not putting as much effort into it because I don't think I'm going to get it anyways because of this reason, or just being closed off from people because I feel like they're judging me based on my weight. Yeah.
Okay, so you start to actually create space in your life, do you?
Yeah. Well, distance from people. Yeah, distance.
Okay, it's interesting though, isn't it? So you pull away, you don't accept, you're starting to cut off the busyness in your life.
Yeah, but I feel like I start to dress differently too when I'm in that mode, right? Too, because I'm like hiding a part of myself, right? I'm not like fully being myself. I'm not like, I feel like I'm more closed off. Yeah.
Okay, would you use the word relax?
No, because I'm not relaxed because I'm like worried constantly about what I'm wearing and what people are thinking. So yeah.
Okay. Okay. But you are creating space, at least in your life. You're pushing people away. You're cutting things off. So you're creating space. Then what do you do with that space?
I sit with my million thoughts.
Okay, so you think?
Yeah. My brain likes to overthink things. That's a really bad habit of mine, is overthinking everything. So I think about it, and then it's almost like I start to have a war in my head. It's like Lizzie's going like, no, 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 like this is why you can't do this. And then the other half of my brain's like that's not very nice. You wouldn't talk to your friend like that. You're beautiful, this, right? So it's almost like an angel and a devil having a war inside my head until one of them wins. So yeah.
Okay, so in that thinking space, are you creating, or are you educating yourself? Like you said, you're talking back to Lizzie.
I think I'm almost educating because I'm educating because I'm pulling from what I've learned, right? Because I've learned all the brain science stuff, but then it's like pulling it back out when you go into that sabotage mode, right? It's like, oh, you're doing this behavior right now. Like, why are you doing that to yourself? Right. So it's almost like education, right? Like, remember when we learned this, right? Why are we doing this? Yeah.
Yeah. So education, and would it be realigning yourself to the truth, like getting yourself back on track?
Yeah. It's almost like, like you're giving your head a shake, right? Like kind of like when you do with like a friend when they're talking down about themselves, like knock it off. Like
ALIGN. Okay. And then once you've realigned, then what do you do and how do you feel?
Then I almost get motivated, and I go back at it like really gung-ho, right? It's like, okay, we're gonna get back into this, and we're gonna like put one foot in front of the other and just keep going and going and going, create momentum, right?
Yeah. And why are you motivated? What do you want to achieve?
Well, ever since I was a little girl, I want to help this planet in a big way, and through the career I have now, I feel like I can do that. So that's my main motivation, right? Is be able to improve this world and leave it a better place. So
Awesome. Motivated to make a difference.
Yeah.
Yeah. Does that sit?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, look at what we got out of Lizzie. This is a really interesting thing. So every negative behaviour we do as a human being actually has a positive intent. So when a newborn baby, like it's just born, brand new, few minutes old, and it starts to cry. And so we can label that crying as a negative behaviour. But that negative behaviour actually has a positive intent, because that newborn baby is trying to give itself something. It either wants comfort or food, or to be changed, or reassurance, or whatever. It's trying to do something positive through that negative behaviour, right? Now we can be 120. We never lose this as human beings. Every negative behaviour we do right now, in our past and in the future, actually has a positive intent. We just have to find it. So Lizzie actually has a positive intent, and her positive, this is the interesting thing. This side of things, like when we label something as negative, usually it's because the process is not so healthy. But the intent is good. So we have to go through and find the gold in it, which is what we just did. So Lizzie might create stress and headaches and doubt and fear and worthlessness, rejection, feeling like you're in a box, hit a wall, restricted, and embarrassment. That's the process she will take you through for the positive intent that you will just give yourself some space to realign, take stock, and get motivated again for what's really important to you, which is making a difference. So can you see she actually has a good heart? She actually, she really loves you. She's just got, dare I say, a bit of a crap way, you know, or an interesting way of doing that. And the process she's using is not so good.
Yeah.
And when you look over here, so on Metamorphis, we've got Metamorphis gives you freedom, relaxed, happy, fulfilled, contentment, accepted, being loved. Does it also give you the opportunity to make a difference?
Yes. When
you're in that. So they both actually want the same thing. So in the past, they may not have been able to see that. And so the parts pull and push and they fight against each other. But when you do this process, you actually, and they generally break down to the same thing. Often you've already come to, like, I wouldn't have had to write that in, make a difference. Usually that's already on the board somewhere. And you can see that they actually both want the same thing. So now there might be a few little light bulbs and aha moments going off in your head. And we're going to do something a little bit creative now. It might seem really weird, but your brain loves weird. Your brain loves creative and colour. It's like a savant child, right? So the more creative you can be with it, the better. So what I'd love you to do now, if you can feel that these two parts are getting a little bit excited and happy to work together because they've got the same goal. Can you feel that?
Yeah, it's almost like a chest feeling, right?
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what I'd love you to do is put your hands either side and in one hand, actually first, before we do that, we're going to change, we might change Lizzie's name. I don't know. She might still be Lizzie. I don't know. But do you feel like Lizzie is a negative name, or are you happy to leave it?
No, I just named her Lizzie because of the reptilian brain that's always trying to keep us safe, right? So she likes to talk us out of things. Yes. Yeah.
So that's not such a bad name, is it? Because she is trying to do that. She's trying to keep you on track. So you're comfortable with that name?
Yeah.
Because often, awesome. Because for the listeners or the viewers, often we'll put the negative side, we'll have a really negative name like sabotage or lazy or something like that. And I often say, I don't know about you, but I don't like being called nasty names. So if it is a negative name on that, just change it to what it really is. So Lizzie might have been turned into the motivator or something, because that's really what she's trying to do. But,
see, I did Lizzie because it's also comical, right? Because of the reptilian brain. So that's why I did that. It's kind of like a play on words. So
yeah, and that's fine. So you may not have to change it because you've got a great name anyway. So we'll leave it at that. So if you put your hands out to the side, in what hand would you like Metamorphis or the butterfly? Your right or left?
Automatically I went to my left. My hand. Yeah.
So Metamorphis and butterflies in the left hand. We've got Lizzie in the right. In your own time, I'd just love you to bring them slowly together and let anything that doesn't need to be there fall out. And then I want you to cup your hands together. So now they're unified as a team.
Okay.
And just imagine that, letting any of the, negative process or the junk or the lies, whatever, just fall out.
Yeah.
And when they're together, now they might seem even more excited because they know they need each other. Because if you just had the Metamorphis side, which is like, yeah, let's go do this, run 100 miles an hour, etc. Without Lizzie, you might end up getting burnt out.
Okay.
Is that fair to say? Like if you just 100 miles an hour all the time.
Oh, yeah.
And if you just had Lizzie, who's, cautious, careful, take a break, chill out, then you might not get as much done as you'd like to get done.
Yeah.
But the two of them together are a really great balance to get the outcome of making a difference in this world that you want to do.
Yeah.
And what you're feeling for. So they need each other. So now that they're a really great team in your hands, I'm going to ask you, is there anything else you'd like to put in there? Would you like wisdom, the wisdom part? Would you like love? Would you like creativity? Would you like courage? Would you like balance or fun? Anything you want that you feel you would need in that team, what would you like to put in there?
Probably courage, because I'm about to step outside my comfort zone with a lot of stuff this year.
Awesome. Okay, courage. Anything else, or does that feel complete?
Courage feels complete. Yeah, because I'm always learning and I'm always trying to be creative. So courage is the one thing that I think I feel I need more. So
excellent. Okay, so now with this incredible team of, you've got the Metamorphis or the butterfly, you've got Lizzie and you've got courage, and they are just pumped off their brains to work together and get an incredible outcome for you, but also looking after you and your soul as well, so you don't get burnt out. Where would you like to place this team? In your head, in your heart, or both?
Heart. Yeah.
Okay, so you just bring them towards and just imagine that they're integrating into you, and feel what that feels like as your heart accepts them and pumps that whole new revelation, that whole new team around your entire being, into every cell, even into your DNA. Okay. And feel what that feels like. And you may find a bit of an adjustment that the process now may change. There may be more creative ways to balance, to, keep you on track and keep you aligned in all areas.
Yeah.
So how does that?
Like doing that, it almost felt like my shoulders just relaxed, right? And then when I was doing this, I could feel the energy coming off like this side of my hands to bring them together. So yeah.
Awesome. Well done. You said there's a really quick neuro strategy you can do, anyone can do, if you've got a bit of past conflict going on.
Yeah. War in your head.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
So that would be like, so you mentioned that rewiring rejection trigger. So that's basically the rewiring of the rejection trigger, correct? Or is that something different? Okay.
Yeah, look, as I said, there's lots of processes. You can do rejection this way as well. So you'd have rejection on one side and then on the other, acceptance or whatever it is that you want to experience instead of that. So yes, this is a process to do that. Rejection's also a value and away from value that a lot of people have structured in your neural programs at a really deep level. Values are quite deep in our neural programming. And so there's other ways you can also deal with that. Every value that we have, whether it's a toward value, and towards values are things that you want to experience, like love, happiness, joy, health, success, all that sort of stuff. And then we have away from values, which are things we want to avoid, like rejection, fear, doubt, pain, all that sort of stuff. So every value we have has a whole bunch of rules sitting under it. We can literally have hundreds of rules per value. And what I mean by rules is what has to happen for you to feel loved, or what has to happen for you to feel rejected. So often the way we don't set these up consciously. It's like we absorb it through our upbringing, our environment, our culture. Lots of things play a part on how we set the order of our values up, and also how we choose the rules for them. Okay. So in my experience, probably the vast majority of people unfortunately make it really hard to feel their towards values, and quite easy to feel their away from values. But we can actually rewire them. So for example, maybe 30 years ago, before I did this on myself, I was embarrassed about just about everything. I was so super sensitive and just I felt embarrassed almost to be alive, because I thought I was going to make a mistake or something, then I'd be embarrassed about that. And now it's actually really hard to embarrass me, because I've changed, I've rewired and rewritten, etc. The whole, my whole values and rule sets. And probably my children aren't overly happy about that, because I do really, really crazy things, and I laugh. I think, oh my gosh, I'm so funny, you know, and my kids are like, oh my gosh, you know. But anyway, if we've got time, I can take you through that a little bit if you want.
Yeah, for sure. I just wanted to bring up, so is the reason the brain prioritizes scientifically, I've heard that it's because it takes 7 positive experiences to outweigh 1 negative. Is that correct? Simone, do you know? I keep hearing that number.
Yeah, so it actually depends again on the individual. So many years ago, when I was studying marketing of all things, it used to be like the exposure rate. You had to see something 5 times before you would make a decision on it. And again, this is average or a generalization, because everyone is unique and everyone is different. And then you have the early adopters, the mid adopters, the late adopters, etc. But let's say on average, you know, 20, 25 years ago or something, it was about 5 times. Now it's, I don't know what it is now. It's like 14, 17 times or something. You have to see something before you will actually take, you know, the average person will take action. So for each person, it could be different. It could be 7 times. And that's what we call a continuum. There's always a continuum in things like that, where someone will do it straight away and someone will never do it. And then there's every number in between that. So it's understanding where we sit on that.
Okay.
But 7 is probably the average.
Okay. I just found that interesting, especially because we just did an episode last week on narcissism. So yeah, just getting over the negative effects of a relationship like that. I was just wondering if that number was correct. So.
And that again comes down to beliefs. So there's sometimes relationships like that create trauma in our lives. And so that's a whole different ballgame, that trauma has to be healed. We will never heal anything we don't validate. So if someone has been through some sort of traumatic situation, and even if it was, you know, being in a relationship with a narcissist, that did create trauma. If they've been told, and often they have in those relationships, what's wrong with you? You know, that it's you know, just get over it or whatever, which is actually invalidating. We never get over anything we don't validate. So that's the start of it. But that's a whole other story. Okay. Are you comfortable in being my guinea pig again?
Yeah,
sure. Exposing this stuff. You can make it up if you want.
Oh, it's totally fine. I'm an open book.
Okay. We're going to look at the value of rejection. Now, what has to happen for you to feel rejected? Just throw out some things.
People don't like my work. As a cake artist, that can be like, oh my gosh, like stabbed through the heart, right? Like, this is my art. And it's the same thing with acting, right? Like, I do like a lot of artistic stuff, right? So people not liking like my like perception of something. To feel rejected, maybe somebody throws out an insult, right? Insults are always a big one, or like a negative comment. Lots of times I get confused online, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. So it's the best person to be confused with, Jennifer Garner. But sometimes people think I'm imitating her, so then they start like telling me that I'm like a fake or a fraud or something. So then that starts to get at me, right? That I feel like I have imposter syndrome. But I'm not actually her. I have a different name. Or like stepping into something I haven't done before, right? I feel rejected because I can't maybe sometimes figure it out fully to begin with.
Okay, so then you're not perfect first go.
Not being perfect, or not being able to pick up on something quick enough. That actually creates stress. Like, I start to feel like stressed when I can't figure something out. So like, that's a big one.
Anything else, or we can just work with those anyway for time's sake. Okay, so the interesting thing about rules is that rules can either be internal or external. If our rules are external, so what has to happen for, sorry, my dog's.
It's okay.
She is a living teddy bear. She's like 30 kilos and just hairy, like Labradoodle. She's got this big
totally
bark on her. But anyway. Okay, so rules are internal or external. When rules are external, it means we're giving our power to manipulate or to control how we feel over to other people, circumstances, or events. That's external rules. When rules are internal, it means we are in control of those rules, and therefore we are in control of how we feel. Most of the population on the planet probably has at least 90% external rules around their values, which means we can be on that emotional roller coaster because it's external triggers making us feel certain things because of the way our rules are set up. Again, we didn't consciously set those rules up. It's just how we've kind of absorbed and made meaning of life as we've grown up. So let's just have a look to see if your rules are internal or external. If people don't like my work, is that up to you or other people that's going to trigger that?
Other people are going to trigger that because I like what I've done.
Yeah, that's an external rule.
Yeah.
When people insult me, is that internal or external?
I feel like that's external because I'm allowing it to affect me.
It is. When people give you a negative comment, is that an external trigger?
It's an external, yeah.
External. When people say I'm fake or a fraud, internal or external?
That's external, yeah.
External. And not being perfect first go?
That's internal because that's me doing that to myself.
Yeah, it is. You're judging yourself, aren't you?
Yeah.
And that's a whole other thing we could check out. But anyway, let's get to this. So most of these that we've just pulled out are external rules. So you have this this away from value of rejection, but you're constantly being triggered and you're not in control of it. It's you've given that power over to other people. So what we need to do is change those rules to internal. And the way we do that is we completely rewrite our rules. So and this is a bit of a process, so I don't know if I'm going to have time to go through. There is, which we can write them out, but then after that, there's an actual integration process that then pops them back up. But this should help anyway. So to write these rules internally, we have to have a good think about how we would phrase that. So I usually start with, I would only ever feel the ridiculous emotion of rejection if I was to constantly focus on the lie that other people can reject me instead of knowing that I love who I am and I am amazing and I will never, reject myself. And that then becomes the rule for rejection. So when I did this around embarrassment, because I had, when people look at me the wrong way, when I say the wrong thing, all this, I actually had to, when I did this process, I had to squeeze out 100 rules. And pretty much the majority of them were all external. So when I rewrote it around something like, I would only feel the ridiculous emotion of embarrassment if I was to constantly focus on the lie that I can be embarrassed, instead of knowing that I love me for who I am, that I'm quirky and I'm funny, and when I make mistakes, I grow from them most. And so that's my new rule around embarrassment. So you can see that I hardly ever get embarrassed because I see mistakes as growth, and that I have this confident foundation of loving myself, warts and all. Not that I'm perfect, but so far from perfect. But I actually think I'm really funny when I make mistakes.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win.
Yeah. Like I've changed the word failure in my head to lesson. I no longer call them failures, I call them lessons. So I've started like doing it that way. Like everything in my life is a lesson or a blessing. Right. So,
awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So that's part of it. But there's always like those a couple times where like you get hung up on something that's like, oh my gosh, I let them get to me. Right. And so I try to take responsibility for the fact that I let that person get to me, because nobody can make me feel that I am letting them do that. Right. Yeah.
That's absolutely spot on. Spot on.
Yeah.
So then I do a whole program on this where we pull out all your towards values, all your away from. We look at the order, because the order makes a difference. Like it determines, the order of them determines the decisions we make, the actions we take, and the results we make. So we have a look at that, and we have a look at all the rules and see if they're helpful or not helpful. Then we completely restructure them. But finally, as I mentioned, we do what's called an integration process. So then that process pops it back up into your neural programs, and then you don't have to think about it. You don't have to say mantras. You don't have to, sprout positive things over yourself, because your programs are actually rewired, and they just become a new train track that you run off. But as I said, that's a whole other process. So maybe for another time.
Yeah, that's really crazy. Yeah, because otherwise it's like it's constantly you're in your analytical brain going, oh wait, I forgot to do that. Now I'm here. Now I'm here. Now I'm here. Right. And until you get it into where you're saying like your subconscious brain, you're going to be fighting yourself. So that makes total sense. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as I mentioned before, there's two ways to change neural programming. You can change it through positive affirmations and thinking and your conscious mind. It just takes a whole lot longer. It's when we do just a few processes in your subconscious already, give you a new revelation. And it's like, you see that signs, unsee this.
Yes.
And you can't. You've seen it. You can't unsee it. It's the same when we change at that subconscious level, when we address those root causes there. You can't unchange it.
Yeah, I like the analogy when I did my my neurolinguistics programming course. They're like, don't think of an elephant. It's like, well, that's not possible. Your brain can't think in negatives.
Exactly. Well, you would know all this stuff anyway. And I always say, I love it when you get, and I talk about this on a spiritual level. So whatever that is for you, for me, it's God, but it might be something different for other people. Yeah. When God's in the business of transformation, like take your butterfly, right? Yeah. I have never seen a butterfly turn back into a caterpillar. Never. Like that stuff sticks. It's just, it's done. So that's what I love about this, is changing it at that core programming level.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for this, Simone. This has been like amazing, and everybody's going to get like so much value out of this.
Strategy mapping is really interesting, but it's up to you whether you want to go into that as well.
It's totally up to you. It's your episode. So.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit about that, and then you can see if you want to go there or not. So strategy mapping is the way we all have strategies for everything. We actually have neural strategies even for how we brush our teeth. So from the simple things to how does someone create $100,000 a month on the in stock? We all have strategies for that. And the really cool thing about that is when you actually know how to find the strategy of someone, you can take that strategy out and map it on yourself. And it is phenomenal what changes in you. So for example, not so long ago, I worked with a billionaire friend of ours, and I found his strategy for favor in business.
Oh, really?
And then have mapped that onto other people since. So it's just the coolest thing. Yeah, if you want, like, if there's an actor or someone that you really like, or it doesn't have to be, it can be either a thing or it can be an emotion. So because we have strategies for confidence, we have strategies for all sorts of things. So we can do like a confidence strategy if you want it. The only thing with strategy mapping is you have to be able to talk to them to get their strategy out of it. But the other thing we could do as well is submodalities is a fabulous thing. So when I think I said on there, like your confidence submodalities, and creating anchors and stacked anchors. So before you go into an audition, you can just play with those submodalities and really boost them up through the roof. So you're feeling like 1,000% confident.
That's incredible. Yeah, for sure. So strategy mapping. Yeah, if you want to go into it, sure, for sure.
Well, let's talk about the submodalities then. How about that?
Okay. Sure.
Okay. So Sub-modality, I love sub-modalities because they're really, really easy and they're really fun to play with as well. So what sub-modalities are, as you would know this, Jen, but we have 5 senses. We have sight, sound, smell, taste, and touch. And what the sub-modalities are is how you describe those senses. So if it's visual, you would have the colour, the size, the shape, is it moving, is it still? Everything that describes something visual is the sub-modalities of it, as it is for auditory, you know, the volume, the tone, or how you would describe the tone, or how you would describe the smell, the taste, or the touch. Is it soft, is it rough, etc. So what we do, to boost our confidence sub-modalities, all we do is we think of a time when we felt really confident. Now, it could be when we were 5 and we just kicked the winning goal, or, you know, it doesn't really matter when, but it just has to be a time when you felt confident. And then you make a list of, so you sit in that feeling or in that time, that vision of when you felt really confident, and you ask yourself, if confidence was a colour, what colour would it be? So if it was something for you, what colour would confidence be for you?
Probably blue.
Blue?
Yeah.
What sort of blue? Is it a vibrant blue? Is it a sky blue?
It's like I'd say it's almost a sky blue. Yeah.
Okay. Is this confidence feeling sky blue? Is that inside you, inside your head, in your heart, in your body, or is it outside you?
It's chest, like heart center.
Chest. Now, is it warm, hot, cold? Is there a temperature in it?
I'd say it's almost warm. Yeah,
warm. Is it moving or still?
It's moving. It's almost like vibrating.
Vibrating. Is it so? It's just in the spot. Is it circular? How would you describe
it? It's like vibrating, like out.
Yeah. Vibrating out. Okay. Would you describe that as fast, medium, or slow?
Medium.
Medium? Is there a sound to it at all?
No.
No sound. There may or may not be. Any smell, any taste to it? There may or may not be.
No.
Okay, so it's a sky blue feeling. It's in your chest. It's warm, and it's vibrating out. Now, from 1 to 10, 10 being super confidence, where would this sit for you? Where would this confident
I'd probably say about like 8, 8.5. Yeah, it's not like a full 10. Yeah.
Okay, let's give it an 8. What would have to happen to get that to a 10? How could you increase it? Could you increase the vibration?
Yeah, like I'd almost need to expand it, right? Because right now it's like centered here. Yeah. So it almost needs to expand outward, right? Out, like almost like down. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So I want you to do that. I want you to expand this feeling. So it's not just in your chest. It's like now your heart's pumping it around your whole body. So it's gone down your arms, your torso, your legs, your toes, your fingers. It's gone up into your head. And I want you to actually pump this so hard you can't contain it. It's going to burst out of every pore in your skin. And so now it's coming from the inside, but it's radiating out of you and it's filling the room. Now I want you to push to fill the whole house and just like now fill the whole suburb. You can take this as big as you want. You can fill the whole country. You can fill the whole world, and you can just go bang and blow it out to like continuous in the universe, right?
Yeah, I see what you mean by moving it past. It just always feels like there's like this little block here, right? Like there's always like that part of me. I know I have to work on it. Where Lizzie's like, oh no, let's keep you a little bit safe, right? By not fully committing.
Okay, can you see the block? Can you?
Yeah, it sits like right here, like right where like the end of the sternum is. It sits like right there, right before you hit your gut. Yeah.
Okay, so I want you to imagine you could just take that out and hand that over to God.
Okay.
Can you do that?
Yeah.
And then He's going to give you back protection in some way.
Okay.
So allow that to happen as well. So you're not without protection. In fact, maybe this confidence is inclusive of protection, like a force field around you.
Okay.
So how does that feel if you do that?
Better, because almost like the physical action of taking it out is actually removing the block.
Awesome. So now can you push it and play with it as far as you want?
Yeah.
Knowing that it's safe. You are safe because it's like a force field. Okay, I want you to intensify the color now. So instead of a sky blue, I want you to make it like a vibrant, incredible, I got this blue.
Okay.
And
it's like neon
does that
blue
amp
now.
it up too?
Yeah, it's neon blue and it's got like squiggly lines. It's almost like going in circular motions, like a neon sign.
Excellent. And now imagine that with every breath you breathe in, you're breathing in that energy. And again, I'm going to add that spiritual element, as if you're breathing in God's breath and God's energy into you. And now, and it might be moving faster now. It might be feeling a little bit warmer.
Yeah, it's almost like it's like tumbling in it. You can actually feel like the energy like going into your fingertips and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And it might even feel like you said neon, but it might even be like sparkly is not the right word, but I see light in it. I see like streaks of light.
It's got like neon blue now, and it's got like some touches of purple and some like yellow in there now. It's almost like multicolor now. Yeah.
Awesome. And how does that feel?
It feels good.
So out of 10, what would you rate that now?
Like now I'd say it's 10, right? Because I don't feel like I have like that block, right? Like I can fully commit to something.
Awesome. Yeah. I'm going to now ask you a question. What would it take to get that 10 out of a 10 to 100 out of 10? Like just blow this thing up, unstoppable. What would you have to have for you to feel that?
Belief in myself.
We'll see it. Let's stick with submodalities. Yeah. Let's feel it. So it's got bits of purple and yellows, and it's a vibrant blue. There's neons.
It has to keep flowing. Yeah, like free flowing. Yeah. Okay.
So add that. Just let your body and your mind take you to 100 now. You don't have to think about, you don't have to consciously do it. Just your body knows how to do it. So just receive it now. Just as if you can just put that dial up to 100 out of 10 and just see what happens.
Okay.
Just intensify it. So how does it feel now?
Good. It feels happy.
And do you believe in yourself at that with that feeling?
Yes.
How good's that? That's how quick submodalities work, is that we don't have to overthink it. We just need to let our body do it. And when we experience that feeling of confidence, of course we're going to believe in ourselves because we've got confidence 100 out of 10. We just go, well, we're doing this thing. Like it is done. I've got this.
Let's go.
Yeah. So they're really cool to play with. So not only can you amp that up on confidence or any towards value that you want, you can also shut it down with fear or rejection. So you just, we just take out those submodalities of fear. So you ask the question, what color would fear be? Where is it? Is it warm? You know, all those questions and more, you know, that we just went through. And then you just reduce it. You shrink it down. You can take, because often fear is in the chest. You can even shrink it down so it's really hard to see. It's just, you know, the size of a postage stamp or a pea. And then you can take that fear out and put it in the hands of God or in the hands of the universe or whatever it is for you. And you can remove it completely. But whenever you remove something, it's always really great to replace it with something else. Because fear is generally there as a protector. So if you take fear out, you need to replace it with something that's protecting you, which is what we did for you with the force field, but in a positive way. And it's really incredible. So you can play with those before you know, audition or whatever. People can do that.
Those are really awesome. Thank you so much, Simone. This has been like, you almost like one of the, like you feel content and happy and fulfilled, and like you just like, you know, like when you like just learn like a ton of information, you feel like all fired up. That's how I feel right now. I am leaving Coffee Chat fired up, people.
That's right.
But that's how I want everyone to feel watching this too. So like, I hope you're following along at home. If you haven't been, you can go back, of course, and watch the replay. So you've been helping so many people. Where can people find you so that they can work with you? I know I think if I remember, you have a course, correct? If I remember from the mastermind? Yes.
Yes, yeah. So I've got a couple of, you can find me on SimoneLeslie.com. So Leslie's with an IE.
Okay.
And you can get in touch with me that way. Even email is simone@simoneleslie.com. But yeah, I have a couple of programs. So one is a 7-day online program, which addresses the root cause of anxiety. Okay. And it's the 7 top strategies that I've been using over the past 25 years to really get to the core of that and create that shift at a neural level. So that's that one. And then I also work with teams and, you know, do mentoring and stuff and take them through this whole process of what is written in there, you know, why are we sabotaging, etc. Let's rewrite them. And then, as I mentioned, you go through the integration process. So that can be done. I usually do that online over about 5 weeks, 2 hours a week in a group or by yourself, whoever's interested.
That's awesome. And then do you do private coaching as well or no?
Yeah, I do. I still have a few spots left for that. So yeah, I do one-on-one as well.
Okay, cool. I will put all the links below this video for anyone who wants to go check out Simone's courses and possibly coaching with her and all of her amazing resources. Because if you've been watching, she's pretty awesome at what she does.
Thanks, Jen. It's been an absolute pleasure.
Thanks, Simone, so much for doing this. It's so appreciative.
My pleasure. Absolutely loved it. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Okay, bye, everybody. Bye, Simone.
Bye.
Speaks the most to you? Wind, water, you know, fire, you know, what piece of nature kind of connects to you? And so formula like if you're an entrepreneur, right? You're like, hi, I'm Holly. I have, you know, like talk about if you're a background person or if you've only had the one-liner, you can talk about mastered one lines and no problem. Like just own where you're at in your journey, and then talk about where you're going and or what you want to get your audience. That kind of makes me wonder, who is the terrorist? Like, is it actually this guy or is it her? Right. So I'd love to like see some juxtaposition with the words where it's like, hey, Emma and James are the perfect couple. One thing leads to another. We're caught up in a tug of war of emotional drama to find out who is the emotional terrorist, right?